Now, getting down to the more serious note. 200 volts, 300 volts, 380 volts, depending on the manufacturer and the voltage. This is DC current. This will not hurt you, this will kill you. And having the proper safety gloves, you're supposed to wear 1000, the rubber gloves that are rated at 1000 volts. Then you have the leather gloves that go over the top for abrasion, so you don't poke through the leather gloves. Now there's modules and relays that disconnect the voltage to make sure that when you remove the battery voltage and you disconnect the other side, nothing's on there. And when doing voltage, you don't do two hands. See, I have, well, let's see, you can see I'm holding one in one hand, one in the other hand. You don't put your body across the voltage and check with two hands, just for safety's sake, just in case. You don't want the voltage to pass from one hand holding one plug, the other hand, and say your elbow was touching the ground, you're leaning over with your leg on there like this, you have your elbow on some sheet metal somewhere, anything touching metal, and you have the positive in one hand, you have, say, the elbow that's holding my camera on my left hand or my leg, and I touch with my right hand with the positive, and say something just didn't work right in the protection chain, it goes through your arm, through your chest where your heart is located, and your breathing apparatus for your solar plexus. Damn, I can't think of the medical term for the muscle that makes your lungs go up and down and everything like that. Okay, so you have that, and then it goes through, the electricity would pass through your left elbow or your left leg. That means it went through your chest. And when it goes through your chest, especially DC, alternating, you have a back and forth current. DC just makes you clench up. Now, 50 volts is considered dangerous on DC. This one happens to be 201 volts, some are 300, 380 volts. What happens is your muscles contract. If you're on there, you just grab on tighter and you stay there until you're roasty toasty Mr. Dean sausage. And yeah, end of story. So, one hand operation. Here I am on the positive. Right in the middle. My body is touching nowhere, just to make sure everything's disconnected. I got nothing there. And if you want to go through the terminals, there, whoops, let's get it right. Doing video while I'm trying to do this. One hand there, right into the metal terminal, right into the copper. You can see I'm right into the copper, both my terms. I got 0. Okay. These you're going to be disconnecting from here and here, because this module gets transferred over to the other battery right there where you see that big white blank spot. That's where this is getting transferred over. But these are your leads that are going back to your batteries. And if something just malfunctioned, something happened, you have to literally put a wrench right onto that positive terminal, and you could do something like this. You could have your elbow there, you could be grounded out, you're dead. That's all. There's no second chance. Guys, don't revive from DC direct into 200 and 300 volt range very well. Maybe AC volts. When I was a kid, I was taught to use your fingers by my grandfather, who was a plumber, who was old school, and we just would do this with 240 volt. 110, it stung and it gave you a little zap. 240 was a little more. You knew your voltage. It was simple. On old ignition wires, 66 Mustang, you just put your hand on her elbow or hand on one, grab the ignition coil, crank it over, and by how much it zapped you, you can determine whether it was 10,000 volts, 15,000 volts, or 20,000 volts, and gave you a little zip. And it was simple. When GM first introduced that high energy ignition with the 50,000 volts and a little more amperage, it wasn't fun. You didn't do that. All right, yeah, no, I'm not Mr. Electro Boom, so I'm not going to put on a spark show today. That's all.